The Naval Special Warfare Base in Coronado operated under one unwritten rule: trust is earned through performance, not pity. When Lieutenant Marcus Chen returned from a deployment in Afghanistan with a scarred, limping, mixed-breed dog instead of commendations, the reaction from his SEAL team was immediate and unforgiving. The dog, a skeletal survivor of a village bombing, had no pedigree, no training certification, and no place inside the wire of America's most elite fighting force. But Chen had seen something in the animal's eyes during a night patrol outside Kandahar. Intelligence tempered by trauma, loyalty forged in survival. He'd carried the wounded dog 15 miles through hostile territory, treated its shrapnel wounds with his own medical kit, and filed the paperwork to bring it stateside as a personal adoption. The decision earned him ridicule in the team room and skepticism from command. What no one expected was that this worthless stray would detect a threat that state-of-the-art security systems, trained sentries, and military working dog units had all missed. The discovery would expose a security breach that reached into the highest levels of base operations, and prove that sometimes the most valuable assets come from the most unlikely places. This is the story of how one SEAL's act of compassion became a lesson in trust, and how a dog with no credentials became the most decorated animal in naval special warfare history. Chapter 1. That morning, no one expected a single act of defiance to change military history. What began as routine training became a moment every soldier on base would remember, and one that would test the difference between following orders and doing what's right. Lieutenant Marcus Chen walked across the Coronado compound at 5:30 hours, with the dog limping beside him. The animal had no name yet. Chen refused to name it until it proved it could survive stateside life. Its fur was patched with scars, one ear torn halfway down, and its gait favored the left hind leg where shrapnel had been extracted 3 weeks prior. The morning briefing was already underway when Chen entered the team room. 12 SEALs in tan fatigues turned to look. Senior Chief Ramos stopped mid-sentence, his jaw tightening as the dog settled beside Chen's boots. "Lieutenant," Ramos said, his voice flat, "this is a classified briefing space." "The dog's cleared, Senior Chief. I submitted the adoption paperwork through NAV Spec War Command. It's approved. Approved for base housing, not for operational spaces." Ramos stepped forward, arms crossed. "That mutt doesn't have MWD certification. It doesn't belong here." Chen met his eyes without flinching. "Neither did half of us when we started Bud S. We earned our place." The room went silent. Lieutenant Vega, Chen's swim partner for 3 deployments, exhaled slowly through his nose. Petty Officer Torres shifted in his seat, gaze dropping to the floor. "You're comparing a stray to a SEAL." Ramos's voice dropped to something colder than anger. "You carried that thing out of a hot zone instead of ammunition. You filed transport paperwork instead of after-action reports, and now you bring it into our space like it's earned the trident." The dog's ears flattened, but it didn't move. Chen kept his voice level. "I brought it here because I'm responsible for it, and because it saved 3 lives in Kandahar when it alerted us to an IED we would have walked past." "Coincidence," Ramos said. "Dogs bark. You got lucky." "Maybe." Chen crouched, resting one hand on the dog's scarred head. "Or maybe instinct and training aren't the only things that matter." Ramos stared at him for 5 long seconds. Then he turned back to the projection screen without another word. The briefing continued, but the tension remained, thick as morning fog rolling off the Pacific. After the meeting, Vega caught Chen outside the team room. "You're making this harder than it needs to be, Mark. I'm not abandoning it. No one's asking you to. Just keep it off base during duty hours. Let it stay at your apartment." Chen shook his head. "It's got separation anxiety from the trauma. Leaving it alone triggers panic episodes. I'm working with a vet behaviorist, but until it stabilizes, You're choosing a dog over team cohesion. Chen turned to face him fully. I'm choosing to honor a commitment I made, same as I do with every op, every mission, every man on this team. Vega's expression softened slightly. Then you better hope that dog proves itself fast, because right now you're burning credibility you might need later. The dog sat at attention, watching both men with dark, intelligent eyes. Its breathing was steady, controlled, waiting. Chen nodded once. Understood. As Vega walked away, Chen looked down at the animal. We've got work to do, he said quietly. The dog's tail moved once, not a wag, but an acknowledgement. Something passed between them in that moment, an agreement forged not in words but in shared understanding. They would prove themselves together, or fail together. Chapter 2. The base gym at 0600 hours smelled of rubber mats and disinfectant. Chen ran the dog through basic obedience drills while the SEAL team conducted physical training on the other side of the facility. Sit, stay, heel. The commands were simple, but the dog's responses were inconsistent, sometimes immediate, sometimes delayed by visible hesitation. It's fear-based, Chen muttered, watching the dog flinch at a dropped weight across the room. Not defiance. He adjusted his approach, using hand signals instead of verbal commands. The dog responded better to visual cues, its eyes tracking Chen's movements with laser focus. Within 20 minutes, the success rate improved dramatically. Senior Chief Ramos appeared in the doorway, arms crossed, watching. Chen continued the drill without acknowledging him. You're wasting training time, Ramos said finally. I'm using my PT hour. Regulation allows it. For your own physical training, not dog handling. Chen straightened, meeting Ramos's gaze. I can pass the PRT right now if you want to administer it, Senior Chief. My readiness isn't compromised. Ramos stepped into the gym, his boots echoing on the concrete. Your judgment is. You're treating this like a rehabilitation project instead of recognizing it for what it is, a distraction. The dog moved slightly, positioning itself between Chen and Ramos. Not aggressive, but present, alert. It's not aggressive, Chen said calmly. It's protective. There's a difference. I don't care about the distinction. I care that you're divided. A SEAL can't serve two masters.
I serve one master, the team's. This dog is part of my life, not a replacement for my duty. Ramos studied him for a long moment. Then prove it. Quals are next week. Score expert on every station and I'll drop this. Score anything less, and that dog goes to a civilian shelter. Chen's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Understood, Senior Chief. After Ramos left, Chen resumed the drills.
The dog sat immediately at his signal, eyes locked on his face. We've got 6 days, Chen said quietly. I need you to trust me, and I need to trust you won't be a liability. The dog's tail moved once. Chen hoped it was enough. Chapter 3. 3 days before qualifications, the mockery intensified. Someone taped a picture of a cartoon dog to Chen's locker with the caption, SEAL Team Sits. Oh, the team room erupted in laughter when he found it. Chen removed it without comment and continued prepping his gear. Come on, Chen, Torres called from across the room. You got to admit it's funny. It's creative, Chen said evenly. Lacks execution, though. The text-to-image ratio is off. A few laughs broke the tension, but the underlying current remained. Chen was outside the circle now, separated not by capability, but by choice. That afternoon, he ran the dog through an improvised obstacle course behind the training facility. Low crawls under netting, weaving through posts, jumping over barriers. The dog struggled with anything requiring the injured leg, but its determination was absolute. It never quit. Never hesitated once, committed to a movement. Lieutenant Vega watched from a distance, then approached. It's got heart, I'll give you that. More than heart, Chen said. It's got discipline. It just needs time to remember it. You really think it was trained before? I know it was. The way it responds to certain gestures, the way it positions itself for protection, that's not instinct. That's conditioning. Vega crouched, extending a hand slowly. The dog sniffed once, then sat. Whose dog was it? I think it belonged to an Afghan soldier. We found it near a burned-out checkpoint, the kind of place where locals worked with coalition forces. And you think it was abandoned when the withdrawal happened? Chen's expression hardened. I think it was left behind when someone had to choose between survival and loyalty. I'm not making that choice. Vega stood, nodding slowly. Fair enough, but Mark, if it interferes with your performance next week, you're done. Not just with the dog, with the team's trust. I know. After Vega left, Chen sat on the ground beside the dog, both of them breathing hard from the training. I need you to understand something, he said quietly. In 3 days, everything changes. I'll be evaluated on weapons, tactics, physical performance. I can't afford mistakes. The dog rested its head on Chen's knee. So, here's the deal. You stay calm, you stay quiet, and you let me focus. And when it's over, we figure out the rest together. Comment where you're watching from. I want to know how far stories of courage and integrity can reach. The dog's eyes closed slowly, a gesture of trust that hit harder than any words. Chapter 4. Qualification day arrived with characteristic Coronado weather, overcast skies and wind that carried salt spray from the ocean. Chen arrived at the range at 500, the dog secured in his vehicle with water and ventilation. He drugged it lightly with vet-approved sedatives to keep it calm during the hours of gunfire. The first station was rifle marksmanship. Chen cleared his M4, verified the weapon, and moved to the firing line. 50 meters, standing unsupported, he controlled his breathing, felt the familiar weight of the rifle, and engaged. 20 rounds, 20 hits center mass. Senior Chief Ramos checked the target, marked the score, and moved to the next shooter without comment. Station 2, pistol transitions. Chen drew his sidearm, engaged multiple targets at varying distances, performed tactical reloads under time pressure. Muscle memory took over. Thousands of repetitions distilled into smooth, efficient movement. Expert score. By midday, Chen had cleared 6 of 8 stations with perfect or near-perfect scores. His performance was sharp, focused, undistracted. Whatever doubts Ramos had harbored about divided attention were being systematically dismantled. The final 2 stations were tactical movement and hand-to-hand combat. Chen navigated the shoot-house with precision, clearing rooms, calling contacts, coordinating with his partner. His mind was crystalline, no hesitation, no second-guessing. During the combative station, he sparred with Petty Officer Torres, a fighter with 20 pounds of muscle advantage. Chen absorbed the first rush, redirected the momentum, and secured a submission hold in 90 seconds. Torres tapped out, breathing hard. Where the hell did that come from? Chen helped him up. Clear mind, no distractions. When the final scores posted at 1600 hours, Chen's name sat at the top of the qualification board. Expert ratings across all 8 stations. The only perfect score in the platoon. Ramos stood in front of the board for a long time before turning to Chen. Outstanding performance, Lieutenant. Thank you, Senior Chief. I made you a deal. You held up your end. Ramos's expression was unreadable. The dog stays. Chen nodded once, crisp and professional. Appreciated, Senior Chief. As he walked back to his vehicle, the mocking had stopped. Respect in the teams wasn't given. It was earned through performance under pressure. Chen had just earned it back with interest. The dog was awake when he opened the door, tail wagging slowly. We're good, Chen said, scratching behind its torn ear. We're good. Chapter 5. 2 weeks after qualifications, Chen brought the dog to the base veterinary clinic for a routine checkup. The animal had gained 12 pounds, Its coat had thickened and the limp had almost disappeared. Dr. Sarah Nguyen, the base veterinarian, examined it with professional thoroughness. "Whatever you're doing is working," she said, listening to its heartbeat. "Muscle tone is improving, anxiety markers are down. This is solid rehabilitation." "It's responding to structure," Chen said. "Routine helps." Dr. Nguyen moved her stethoscope to different positions, frowning slightly. "That's interesting." "What?" "Its respiratory rate changes when I move to certain areas, almost like it's trained to alert to specific stimuli." She looked up. "Did you say you found this dog near a military checkpoint?" "Afghan National Army position." "Why?" "I think this might have been a detection dog. The breathing pattern, the way it focuses on scent, that's conditioning, not natural behavior." Chen's mind raced. "What kind of detection?" "Hard to say without testing. Could be explosives, narcotics, or even cadaver work, but something triggered specific training responses." "Can you test it?" Dr. Nguyen hesitated. "Not officially. I'd need authorization from the MWD program, and they don't certify civilian dogs." "What about unofficially?" She studied him carefully. "You're asking me to risk my credentials on a hunch. I'm asking you to help me understand what this dog is capable of, because if it's trained, someone invested time and resources into it, and someone left it behind when they shouldn't have." Dr. Nguyen was quiet for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Give me 2 days. I'll run some baseline scent tests off the books. But Chen, if this goes sideways, it's on both of us." "Understood." 2 days later, Chen returned to the clinic after hours. Dr. Nguyen had set up a simple test. 5 containers, one with a small amount of C4 explosive she'd requisitioned for training purposes. The dog would have one chance to identify the correct container. Chen walked the dog past each container slowly. At the third one, the dog sat immediately, eyes locked on the container, body rigid with attention. Dr. Nguyen's expression shifted from curiosity to shock. "That's a trained alert. Textbook. Perfect." Chen crouched beside the dog, heart pounding. "You're an explosives detection dog, aren't you?" The dog's tail moved once. That same acknowledgement Chen had seen before. "This changes everything," Dr. Nguyen said quietly. "If this dog can detect explosives without current certification, it means it retained training through trauma and displacement. That's extremely rare." "Can it be recertified?" "Theoretically, yes, but it would require formal evaluation by the MWD program, medical clearance, and command approval. And given its injury history and unknown background, it would probably be rejected." Dr. Nguyen nodded. "Most likely." Chen stood slowly, his mind working through the implications. The dog wasn't just a stray he'd saved. It was a trained asset that had been abandoned, survived against impossible odds, and retained its capabilities despite everything. "Then we don't go through official channels," Chen said. "Not yet. What are you planning?" "I'm planning to give this dog a chance to prove what it can do, on its own terms." Chapter 6. The opportunity came 3 weeks later during a routine base security sweep. Chen was running the dog through morning exercises near the storage facilities when it suddenly stopped, body going rigid. Its head turned toward a maintenance building 50 meters away, a low-priority structure used for equipment storage. The alert was unmistakable. Same posture, same focus Dr. Nguyen had documented. Chen's pulse quickened. He pulled out his phone, texted Vega, "Need you at Building 7 Southeast Corner. Bring Ramos, urgent." 8 minutes later, both men arrived. Chen explained quickly. The vet's tests, the dog's training, the alert it was giving now. Ramos's expression was skeptical. "You're telling me this stray is alerting to explosives in a secured storage building?" "I'm telling you it's showing the same behavior it showed during a controlled test with known explosives. And you want me to authorize a security breach investigation based on a dog's hunch?" Based on a trained detection dog's alert, yes, sir. Vega stepped forward. Senior Chief, I've known Mark for 6 years. He doesn't make calls like this lightly. Ramos stared at the building, then at the dog, then back to Chen. If this is nothing, you're done. Not just with the dog, with your reputation. Understood. Ramos pulled his radio. Security, this is Senior Chief Ramos. I need a sweep team at Building 7, Southeast Sector. Possible contraband alert. The response came within minutes. 4 military police officers and a certified MWD handler with a German shepherd arrived. The handler looked at Chen's dog with barely concealed contempt. That's what triggered the alert? Yes. Chen said evenly. Sir, with respect, that animal isn't certified. It could be reacting to anything. Food residue, animal scent, even its own trauma responses. Run your dog, Ramos said. We'll compare results. The handler moved the German shepherd through the building's perimeter. The dog showed mild interest near the loading dock, but gave no formal alert. After 20 minutes, the handler returned, shaking his head. Nothing, Senior Chief. Building's clear. Chen's stomach dropped. He looked at his dog, still locked in the same rigid alert position. It's not wrong, he said quietly. Lieutenant, Ramos said, warning in his voice. Give me 5 minutes. Let me walk it through. Ramos exhaled hard. You've got 3. Chen approached the building with the dog on a short lead. It pulled toward the loading dock, then passed it to a ventilation grate set into the foundation. The dog sat immediately, nose almost touching the grate. Chen knelt, examining the grate. It looked standard, rusted bolts, decades of salt air corrosion, but when he put his face close to the opening, he smelled it. Oil, metal, and something chemical he couldn't quite identify. I need this grate removed, he said. One of the MPs used a pry bar to pop the bolts. The grate came free, revealing a crawl space beneath the building. Chen pulled out his flashlight, shining it into the darkness. Wooden crates stacked 3 deep, extending back into shadow. Senior Chief, Chen said quietly, we've got something. The next 2 hours transformed the quiet morning into controlled chaos. EOD teams arrived, cleared the crawl space, and extracted the crates one by one. Each contained weapons, unregistered firearms, ammunition, and enough C4 to level half the compound. The investigation that followed traced the cache to a supply sergeant who'd been diverting materials for black market sale. The sergeant had been operating undetected for 18 months, hidden beneath a building that security sweeps had cleared dozens of times. If this story already has your respect, hit the like button. It helps the story of Chen's courage reach those who still believe in honor, until a scarred, limping dog from Afghanistan found what everyone else had missed. Chapter 7. The base commander's office was furnished with military precision. Flags, commendations, and photographs of carrier groups arranged in exact alignment. Captain Patricia Reeves sat behind her desk, fingers steepled, as Chen stood at attention with the dog sitting calmly beside him. Lieutenant Chen, she began, her voice carrying the weight of 30 years of service. You've created an interesting situation. Yes, ma'am. A dog with no official certification just prevented a catastrophic security breach. The investigation has revealed a black market operation that compromised base security for over a year. And you accomplish this by trusting an animal most of your teammates called worthless. Chen kept his eyes forward. The dog's capabilities were overlooked due to its appearance and background, ma'am, not its actual performance. Reeves leaned back slightly. I've read Dr. Nguyen's unofficial report. I've also read Senior Chief Ramos's account of your qualification performance. You've proven that adopting this animal didn't compromise your effectiveness. In fact, you've demonstrated exceptional judgment under pressure. Thank you, ma'am. However, Reeves continued, we now have a problem. This dog performed a function that requires official certification. If we acknowledge its capability, we have to address why it wasn't properly evaluated. If we don't acknowledge it, we're dismissing a legitimate security asset. Chen understood immediately. The institution was caught between recognition and regulation. Ma'am, permission to speak freely? Granted. The dog doesn't need validation from a certification program. It needs a handler who trusts its training and a system that allows it to work. I'm volunteering to continue that partnership, with or without official recognition. Reeves studied him carefully. You're aware that could limit your deployment options. Teams won't take an uncertified animal into hostile territory. Yes, ma'am. But this dog has already proven itself in hostile territory. It survived, adapted, and retained its training through trauma that would break most animals. That's the kind of resilience we claim to value. A small smile touched Reeves's lips. You make a compelling argument, Lieutenant. Here's my decision. I'm authorizing a formal evaluation of the dog by the MWD program. If it passes, it will be certified and assigned to base security operations with you as primary handler. If it fails, it remains your personal animal but cannot participate in official operations. Understood, ma'am? One more thing. Reeves stood, moving to the window overlooking the compound. That dog's discovery has triggered a complete security overhaul. We're implementing new detection protocols, rotating MWD teams to areas they haven't covered, and reviewing personnel with access to sensitive materials. Your animal didn't just find a weapons cache, it exposed a systemic failure. Chen felt the weight of that statement. Ma'am, the dog was just doing what it was trained to do. Perhaps, but you chose to trust that training when everyone else dismissed it. That's leadership, Lieutenant. Remember that. Chapter 8. The MWD evaluation took place over 3 days at the base's K-9 training facility. Chen was prohibited from handling the dog during the assessment. It would work with neutral evaluators to eliminate handler bias. He watched from behind a chain-link fence as the dog moved through detection courses, obedience trials, and stress tests. Its performance was inconsistent at first. The unfamiliar handlers and environment triggered visible anxiety. But by the second day, the dog's training memory kicked in fully. It alerted to explosives hidden in vehicles, luggage, and building structures. It maintained focus despite distractions, gunfire, crowd noise, other animals. It responded to commands from handlers it had never worked with before. The head evaluator, Master Sergeant Diana Moss, had 20 years of MWD experience. She approached Chen on the final day with an expression he couldn't read. "Your dog is unusual," she said without preamble. "In what way, Master Sergeant?" "It has the technical skills of a certified detection dog, but the behavioral profile of a trauma survivor. It's highly capable but deeply scarred. That combination is rare." "Will it pass?" Moss paused, choosing her words carefully. "On capability alone, yes. It meets or exceeds every standard for explosives detection. But there's a question of reliability under sustained operational stress. Most MWDs are built from the ground up in controlled environments. This dog was broken and rebuilt. I can't predict how it will perform in a true crisis." Chen felt his chest tighten. "So you're recommending rejection?" "I'm recommending conditional certification, limited duty, supervised operations, mandatory behavioral monitoring. The dog works, but it works with parameters." "It wasn't perfect, but it was a chance." "I'll take those conditions, Master Sergeant." Moss nodded slowly. "I thought you would. For what it's worth, Lieutenant, that dog is loyal to you in a way I rarely see. It performs for others, but it belongs to you. Don't take that lightly." "I don't, Master Sergeant." The certification came through 48 hours later. The dog was officially designated as MWD SEAL K-9 047, assigned to Naval Special Warfare Base Security Operations, primary handler Lieutenant Marcus Chen. Chen finally gave it a name, Ranger, because it had wandered far from home, survived impossible odds, and found its way to exactly where it needed to be. Chapter 9. 6 months after the weapons cache discovery, Chen stood in the base's ceremonial courtyard with Ranger at his side. The entire SEAL team was assembled in dress uniforms, along with base command and a small group of civilian reporters authorized to cover the ceremony. Captain Reeves stepped to the podium. "We gather today to recognize exceptional service. Lieutenant Marcus Chen, an MWD Ranger, have completed 6 months of operational duty, conducting security sweeps that have resulted in 3 additional contraband discoveries, 2 prevented security breaches, and the identification of infrastructure vulnerabilities that have since been corrected." Chen kept his eyes forward, feeling the weight of Ranger's presence beside him. The dog sat at perfect attention, as disciplined as any SEAL in formation. "But this ceremony is about more than operational success," Reeves continued. "It's about the courage to trust what others dismiss. Lieutenant Chen adopted an animal that many considered worthless. He invested time, resources, and professional credibility into rehabilitation when easier options existed, and in doing so, he revealed capabilities that our most sophisticated systems had overlooked." She turned to Chen directly. "Your partnership with Ranger represents the best of what we claim to value: loyalty, perseverance, and the willingness to see potential where others see only problems. You've earned the respect of your teammates, the gratitude of this command, and a place in naval special warfare history." Reeves held out a medal, the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal. Chen stepped forward, saluted crisply, and accepted the commendation. "And for Ranger," Reeves said, producing a smaller medal attached to a blue ribbon, "I present the K-9 Distinguished Service Award for exceptional detection work and exemplary performance under pressure." She knelt, fixing the medal to Ranger's tactical collar. The dog remained perfectly still, eyes forward, tail moving once in acknowledgement. The courtyard erupted in applause. Chen looked down at Ranger, seeing not the scarred stray from Kandahar, but the partner who had proven everyone wrong, through nothing but quiet competence and absolute loyalty. After the ceremony, Senior Chief Ramos approached. "I was wrong about the dog, Lieutenant." Chen met his eyes. "You were protecting the team, Senior Chief. I respect that." "Still wrong." Ramos extended his hand. "That animal is a SEAL in every way that matters. Welcome back to the circle." Chen shook his hand firmly, feeling the full weight of acceptance return. As the crowd dispersed, Chen walked Ranger across the compound toward the ocean. The sun was setting over the Pacific, painting the sky in shades of amber and crimson. They stood together at the fence line, watching the waves roll in. "We did it," Chen said quietly. "We proved them all wrong." Ranger's tail moved slowly, rhythmically, not celebration, but contentment. Chen crouched beside him, resting one hand on the scarred head that had become so familiar. "You know what the best part is? You didn't change who you were to make them accept you. You just kept being exactly what you always were: loyal, capable, and worth every moment of faith I put in you." The dog leaned into his touch, eyes closing slowly. "That's the lesson," Chen continued, more to himself than the animal. "Integrity isn't about proving yourself to people who already doubt you. It's about staying true to what you know is right, even when it costs you everything." Ranger opened his eyes, looking at Chen with that same intelligent gaze that had first captured his attention in a bombed-out Afghan village. Subscribe for more stories of loyalty, courage, and justice within the ranks. Thank you for watching the case of Lieutenant Chen and MWD Ranger. See you in the next one.